Waking up at 5 a.m. has become a huge trend, especially on YouTube. People say that it's super healthy and it's changing their life. And I personally have a slightly different opinion on the subject. And that is why I wanted to make today's video, because there may be people out there, maybe even you, who feel pressured into getting up at 5 a.m. as well. And I want to let you guys know that you don't have to. And of course, I will also explain why I feel this way. I'm a huge morning person myself. I love waking up early, and my mornings have always been my favorite part of the day. It's kind of special to me. So let's begin by saying that I'm not against waking up early in any way, or even waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. I think people should do whatever feels good for them. So this is just me expressing my views and my personal opinion on the subject. Phew, now that we got that out of the way, let's begin. Look, as I mentioned, I love getting up early and having a productive morning. It's clearly my natural setting. I've always been someone who goes to bed early and then wakes up early. And people tend to talk about waking up at 5 a.m. like it's some kind of magic special hour where they get all kinds of stuff done that they can't get done at any other time of the day. And that is great if it works for you, but I feel that no one should feel pressured into getting up at 5 a.m. if they want to feel productive. And I'll share my top 2 reasons why I think this way. And also I will share my schedule for a productive day working from home with the times mentioned to further illustrate my point. The first reason is that everyone is different, and I personally need a lot of sleep. I have experimented with different hours of sleep, and I feel best when I sleep 8 to 9 hours a night. So if I were to get up at 5 a.m., if I want to get my 8 hours of sleep, not even to mention the 9 hours of sleep, I would have to be in bed asleep at 9 p.m. So that would mean that I would have to go to bed at 8:30 at the latest, even a bit earlier if I want to read a book before going to sleep, which is what I usually do. I personally feel that this rhythm isn't really right for me. I would probably go to bed a little bit later, maybe 1 or 2 hours later, and I would lose those hours of sleep that I actually need to feel good and productive and energized during the day. And it's not just me. There are many successful people who wake up early, but there are also many people with successful online businesses, for example, who also have their life together and they wake up at 11 a.m. The second reason is that I feel it's not really about when you do your work. It's not about the hour in the day. It's more about what you do with the time you are awake and being productive whenever you feel best. And if that's 4 or 5 a.m. for you, then that's great. You should do that. But if you feel most productive in the evening, or let's say 2 p.m., then you should do that. And of course, seeing to it that we don't have these major time eaters in our day that are costing us our productivity. So let's say social media, that's a really big one. A lot of people spend on average 2 to 3 hours a day on there. And if you ask me, it's way more productive to take a little part of that time and use it for something else, to focus on something that you're really passionate about, no matter how late you get up. I think we all have a time in the day when we feel most awake and inspired and energized, and I think that's the time we should use to be productive, ideally. And it can also be different for each type of productivity. For example, maybe you love going to the gym first thing in the morning, but you don't really feel creative enough yet to start writing your book as soon as you wake up. So if you're not waking up at 5 a.m., I don't think that says anything about you. You're not being lazy or unproductive if you wake up later. I think everyone should do whatever feels good for them, so don't feel pressured by this trend. Now, to further illustrate my point, let me walk you through my schedule for a productive day working from home on my channel. So I get up at 7 a.m. That's what feels good to me, and then I usually have a relaxed morning. I like to take time to enjoy my breakfast, take a shower, or stare outside up at the sky. And then I usually start working at 8:30, and I've noticed that my brain starts to really turn on at 10 a.m. So between 8:30 and 10, I make sure that I do all kinds of the little things that need doing that don't really require my brain to be fully turned on yet creatively. Things like doing administration, planning in my bullet journal, answering emails, answering comments, scheduling tweets, updating my website, backing up my hard drive, all that little stuff. And then between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. I've noticed is my best time to be super productive. That is when I do all my creative stuff, things like scripting, filming, editing, making thumbnails, doing research, everything that requires a lot of focus and concentration. And then between 3 and 5 p.m., I usually try and see what it is I still need to get done that day, but also how I feel, because sometimes my brain starts to feel a bit fried and I feel more like cleaning the house or exercising or doing yoga, going grocery shopping or practicing my Japanese. And sometimes I can still keep going with editing videos. So that is the time of day when I make choices based on how I'm feeling and what still needs to get done. For me, working in the evening is out of the question. Even as a child going to school, I could never focus on studying for a test in the evening. However, cleaning and exercising, those are things that I still feel good doing in the evening. So I can always do that, and then I also make sure that I have enough downtime, maybe play a game or watch some Netflix or hang out with my boyfriend. So my point here is that we are all different, and the best way to be productive is to figure out what type of schedule works best for you, depending on your life and your lifestyle and your preferences and your rhythm. And if you feel like waking up a bit earlier would actually be beneficial to you, then I suggest you try and do that. There are many videos on YouTube with healthy and realistic advice about waking up earlier. So I'm very curious, what do you think about this whole thing? Did you try the waking up at 5 a.m. thing? And if so, what were your experiences? Share them in the comments and I will talk to you down there. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.